All right. Hey everyone, it's Jenna from DM Nation Vault, and I am on the phone with Andrew Hileman of I Am from Dallas, Texas. How are you today?
Good, good. How you doing? How you doing?
Doing good. I know you're on tour right now, so thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, not a problem.
Yeah, so in September of last year, September 9th, actually, you released Eternal Steel. So my first question is about the album artwork because it's really cool. It shows like a woman warrior holding a three-headed panther. So how do you feel like that embodies the entire vibe of what that it's all about?
Yeah, so I like to wait to hear how the music is sounding before I get to doing anything with album artwork. And no, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry, everybody just walked up to me. um, yeah, so I like to listen to or see what we have written first before I get to thinking about album art, just because I feel like the art does have to illustrate what the sound is trying to get across. And so we were probably about halfway through writing the album, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, this is it. This is the image that I have in my head. This is what I'm feeling for this album. Strong woman warrior, Frank Frazetta style, holding a three-headed panther with a chrome skull in her hand. And I was like, I don't care what everything else was. I was like, but I needed that in there. And yeah, so that's kind of how that came about. It just kind of hit me one day, and that's kind of how a lot of the, I guess, the artistic side of I am kind of comes across. Is like it just hits from a feeling more so than like I specifically want something going into it before knowing how something sounds. I have to hear it and then feel it, and then that's how I get the art across as far as that goes.
Okay. How do you feel the artist really captured everything that you were going for? Like especially how do you feel he
Oh,
like what am I trying to say? Like captured the image that you had in your head.
oh, perfect. Literally, almost like exactly as I wanted to. So I sent him a bunch of references of Frank Rosetta, and Conan style, Fire and Ice, a lot of the old barbarian style pulp art from the 80s and 90s and stuff. And so that was really the style of art that I wanted. And I actually went to three or four different artists before landing on Hileman, because I didn't know anybody that did that personally, that style. And a few of them actually were just like, yeah, I don't think I can do this. It's a little too much. And so he was the only one that was like, yeah, I can take this on. And I looked at his art and I was like, man, this is you're the perfect man for this job. And yeah, he knocked it out of the park. I mean, executed it exactly as I wanted it to, and it just, I don't know. I feel like it represents the album so well, the artistic. Because I was always I always admired, back in the day when you had to go to a record shop and the only way you could base if you wanted to buy an album was whether the album art was cool or not. And
Right.
that's kind of what I wanted this to be. It's like whether or not you know of us, you're gonna look at this and be like, "Wow, that looks crazy." I want to know what this is.
Yeah, is there a certain song that you feel like the image connects to more, or how do you feel like it tells
Uh,
the story of what Eternal Steel is all about?
so the title track Eternal Steel is gonna be that for me, because in the whole Eternal Steel is more of it's a feeling, not necessarily like an entity or a being or anything like that. It's a feeling of empowerment. And I've always really admired, like, especially in the Frank Rosetta style paintings where he pictured women as these really strong forces that were just beautiful and strong and empowering. And I was like, man, I want that, because that's how I'm feeling this is coming across. Because it is I guess you would say, a male dominated field, but it's getting more and more, you know, open to everybody. And I want to be a part of that, to where it's like, we're including this type of stuff in our artwork or in our music, so everybody's included. It's not just hey, if you're a real big testosterone male, like you can only like this band. It's like, no, like you can have pink, you can have women, you can have all these things on metal, and it still come across as how you want it to come across, and not just be dedicated to a specific group of people.
Right. As a woman listening to that, like, thank you. Because it
No, of
definitely
course.
it definitely is like super ever since I can remember, like it, we've always been outnumbered. So it's cool to
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool to see things and witness things changing, and like we're working, it's like working on equalizing it for everyone, which is cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I've honestly, like, I'd say within the last 2, 3 years of touring, it's been the amount of, ratio of, sexes is crazy now, because it's being flooded with everybody. It's not just like, oh, there's going to be just a few females or a few anything. And it's just so much of everything now, and it's beautiful to see. So I think we're hitting a turning point where it's metal starting to get across for everybody again. I feel like it kind of got, decimated by all the male egos for a while.
Yeah. Um, so you also have a few videos out for this album as well. Like the one that
Mhm.
really stood out to me was the Iron Gate. Like, where was that filmed? Where did you find that location? Because that stone cave or whatever it was is really cool.
Yeah, so it was actually it was like a suburb outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and we filmed it right after getting off that tour with Nile and Incantation in February of 2022. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we filmed it right after that, and it was in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was actually an old what are those called? It was right next to a train station, not a train station, but a railroad, and it was like an old tunnel that just wasn't being used anymore. It was like a historical place now, and the guy that was shooting our video, he got the okay to film there, and so it was really cool. Nobody bothered us. It was just quiet. Nobody was there. Real dark, real dirty, dingy, gross. Exactly what we wanted. And it just, I don't know. The vibe of that one was really cool, because it was just there. We didn't have to do much to like make it dirty or make it nasty. It was just that way. And so that's why that one was really, really cool. I'm glad we got to do that one there, because that got executed really well.
Yeah, how do you feel the director captured, and who is the director of it? First of all, and how do you feel like he or she was able to capture like your intensity with the video?
Yeah, I felt like it was awesome. I mean, he was really cool to work with. Um, I'm blanking on his name. Probably best for um, but yeah, I mean, it was honestly great. There were a lot of things I wish I could have done differently. Um, but it's neither here nor there. We did what we had to do and got the job done. And I feel like, given what we were, given the circumstances and everything, I think he knocked it out of the park, and I think it turned out awesome.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull up the director's name, because I just don't remember his name, and I want to say it. Justin Reich. That's what it is. Justin. You there,
Okay.
Phil? I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah, Justin Reich. He actually does a lot of the videos for Monarch, the label that we're on. He does a lot of their videos. So yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Justin
yeah,
Reich
his
was, and
yeah,
he
his
did
name
the
sounds
Surrender the
familiar.
Blade one as well.
Okay. Yeah, in your Surrender to the Blade video, like that one it shows a woman like dressed in armor, which was really cool again. So how do you feel like the those scenes from the video like captured the feeling of what Surrender to the Blade is all about, especially lyrically?
Oh, 100%. That one was very cool because it was coming from a place of a warrior battling with herself because she was bred to just be this warrior. She never had a choice, but she's so good at it that she can never leave, and she just is the blade. She is this wielding warrior that just can't be stopped, even though she wants to. It's hard lifestyle, killing, and doing
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. So she never had a chance, never got a choice in the matter, and I feel like that was just great because we actually had so there was those people that were dressed up in the armor and the night uniforms and everything. They are actually like cosplayers that do like, I guess LARP is the word for it, or something of that sort. And they actually do that stuff as a job professionally. So like everything, all the armor you saw, all the moves, and all the actually hitting each other, they were swinging those axes and swinging those swords and just smashing each other with them. It was legit, and it was pretty cool to see. We were there for most of the day watching them do that stuff because that took the most time, was them doing all the scenes of them fighting. And yeah, it was really cool to see how they actually did all that. So, pretty brutal.
Yeah, that's super cool to know. Where was it filmed too?
So that was actually in Atlanta as well, another suburb. It was on some guy's ranch or farm, and he just had this really cool rock landscape. And I guess the guy knew him, and he was just like, "Hey, you can come over here and beat people up and kill people with swords."
That's awesome. And then you also have the Primal Wave video too. So my next question, of
That's
course,
our family.
where was that filmed? Was that also in Atlanta or was that somewhere else?
No, that was actually probably a month before we released the album. We our bassist Eric, he's a real movie nerd and really into like director style of things. And so him and Kevin, who had shot the video, they got together, and this was filmed in Oklahoma, and it was in a buddy's shed in the middle of nowhere. It was like on a ranch somewhere, and it's so damn hot in there. But he's a real nerd about getting those specific angles and specific lighting and like making it to where the camera work is really cool. Not necessarily like, oh, it has to be a crazy story or it has to be, all this other extra frou-frou stuff. It can be very enticing to the eyes, and that's what they did, and they nailed it so hard. They have there's actually 3 spots in there where it's like the Palma special where they have the 2 split screens and both things going on. Like, I love that video so much just because, like, aesthetically and it's just so pleasing to the eye. I love that so much.
Yeah, it's a cool video because it's definitely more of a performance video, I guess you could call it. But that
Yeah.
like it is really cool because it's like it has the you guys look like you play a fucking intense show through that video.
Yeah, and that's honestly what we like to do. Like we bring it all to the table when we play live. I think that's one thing that sets us apart. Especially on any bill we're on. We're a band that if you watch us, it doesn't matter if you like our music. You're gonna be entertained watching us because whether it's a music video or a festival or just a regular old show, we're gonna bring it 110%, and we bring that same energy live, and that's what we wanted to capture in a music video. I feel like that's hard because music videos are choreographed and wait, do it over and over and over again all these times. And I just felt like that video captured our live feel very.
Yeah, I gotta put it out there. So whenever you guys are doing another tour, because I know this one is not coming close to me at all, you guys gotta come out and play a show in Fargo. Like, we have a really cool death metal culture
We
out
love Fargo so much. It's so crazy that we never go to Fargo, but every time we're on tour, it's like a running joke. We're just in the van and someone will yell Fargo, and then we all say Fargo. And I don't know why we do it, but so we played. We were on this tour with Acacia Strain and Left Behind in like 2018, I believe, and it was a majority Canada tour. We did like a full month of Canada, and then at the end of tour, us and Left Behind did a show in Fargo, and it was like a small coffee shop, I think, real small coffee shop, and it was just packed to the brim, and it was just the funnest show we played that whole tour. And so we were like, man, Fargo is the spot, and we've never played Fargo since, and it's been a long time. But trust me, I want to come back to Fargo. We all do. Fargo is awesome. It kicks ass.
Thank you. Fargo is awesome. Like the shows here. I mean, it's cool that we're getting more bands coming here now. So
Oh yeah,
it would be
that's
cool
awesome.
to have them like a bigger city would,
Yeah. It's probably just because it is kind of up there and out of the way. There's not many shows you can hit to and from, so you got to make the trip to go out there.
Right. And like the fans here, we appreciate it when bands from elsewhere across the states or wherever in the world come here. I feel like we appreciate it and go crazy when we
Yeah,
get
and that's something to say though, because there's some tours we do where it's like they're the sea market tours where cities that don't normally get a lot of shows just because they're not the major cities, and oftentimes those are the best and most fun shows because people are just genuinely glad to have music around and just be like, man, like crazy y'all came out here, and they're just so stoked to have live music in their city, and it's such a beautiful thing when you get to play those cities like that.
Yeah. So I really hope that sometime soon, like next tour, whenever you come and play Fargo.
I'm gonna tell our booking agent, I was like, no matter what, we got to play Fargo this year.
Yes. We have the aquarium. You probably played at Red Raven Espresso or coffee shop.
Oh, maybe that might have been it.
I didn't move to Fargo till 2021, so I do remember seeing the Acacia Strain coming to North Dakota though.
Yeah.
Like, damn, I can't make it to this one. But
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, going back on topic. Okay, so with this album, with the lyrical journey, so first of all, what was this? Do you write all of the lyrics, or is it kind of a collective thing between everyone in the band?
No, so it's me writing all the lyrics, and Tom pretty much the guitar player. He wrote most of the album, like musically. Him and Brandon, the drummer.
Okay.
Chris wrote some, and Eric had some written on there too. But Tom does a lot of it, and I do all the lyrics.
Okay. So what was the first song that you wrote for Eternal Steel, and how do you feel like that song set the tone or vibe for the entire album?
So the first song I wrote for on the album was The Iron Gate, and I felt like that was a perfect because I do that too, where I like to write my first songs out to the song where I feel like is the album, and to me, The Iron Gate is that one, and that whole song is about you know, going to those uncomfortable places to grow as a person, which is a lot of what the album is about. And that's kind of why that one set the set the tone for the rest of the album, because it was just it meant a lot to me, because I've been trying to really become a better person for myself and, you know, for my wife and everybody around me, and just, you know, really grow as a person and not be stuck in my 20s egotistical ways, you know. And that was the song where that was like, you know, you got to really dig deep and go to these really uncomfortable, really shitty places to get to that spot. You know, it's not fun, it's not easy, and, you know, it feels like you're stuck in this dungeon torture chamber. But, you know, once you get through that, you can do anything, and, you know, you're a better person because of it.
Right. That's what life is all about, even though sometimes it's like, oh my God, really? Really?
Yeah, honestly, you know, like you get placed with these uncomfortable situations or faced with adversity, and, you know, that's your time to shine. That's your time to take that head on and, you know, really go full in, because that's the world trying to teach you. You know, life is not easy, as most people know. You know, unless you get
Right.
handed everything in life. You know, it's not like that for most people. But you have to embrace the shittiness. You have to embrace all the things that are uncomfortable and ugly and nasty, because you're going to be a better person for it. You know, you go to somebody who hasn't faced any adversity and any troubles or any complications in life. You know, they're usually not a great person. They usually have a warped view on how the world works and how life is. And, you know, you have to live through these things to experience life, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely. It's it's crazy how it is crazy. Like
It is. It is.
it's funny because like sometimes those people, they are battling addiction or something. So they don't
Hmm.
they're clouded. But I'm speaking from experience here.
Hmm.
But yeah, you definitely have to go through those dark places, and sometimes people, they don't come out of it, which is, it's scary to think. So
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is.
it's
Yeah.
cool that
That's
we
real. Oh yeah.
it's cool that we have music, to guide us through these places in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened during that moment of inspiration that made you write that song, if you'd be willing to share?
So it's not a lot specifically. There's a whole lot that I've been having to go through just on like a personal journey of myself, and it's kind of the culmination of that, and it's a very broad broad answer to a lot of issues, and I like to leave it like that, just because, you know,
Right.
a lot of people go through so many different things, whether it's addiction, homelessness, you know, all these other things, and to leave it open ended like that, to where it is like a spectrum to where it could be used for any of those topics. That's how I like the viewers to see it, because and that was kind of the whole reason as to why I wrote the album in sort of a barbaric fairy tale type fantasy land, and not so much as like a very direct way of saying, you know, this is hard, you got to go through this to be better. You know, like I'd like to tell these stories through a fantasy barbaric tale, because for me at least, it's easier to comprehend. It's more full, if you will. You know, it's definitely more like, okay, I'm hearing this story through a tale like this, and it's connecting in this way. Because a lot of times, if you confront somebody, you know, say somebody who's going through addiction, and you confront them head on about their addiction, most of the time they're gonna be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this to me. Like how are you doing it? Like, you know, like they feel attacked. They feel very like, oh fuck, like I don't want to listen to this anymore. I don't want to be around this person anymore because they're just gonna tell me how much I'm fucking up.
Right.
Instead, I'm writing in these, fantasy tales where it's like you make up your decision on whether or not you want to listen to it and whether or not it's too much for you. But it's for me, it's a bit more playful in that matter of like, okay, I can listen to this and it's not head on telling me that, oh, I'm a piece of shit for still, being addicted to this certain thing, or for not getting my life together. Like it's very much more of a empowerment, and that's how I wanted it to come across. Is like I want these songs to be empowering to people and not dogging them or dragging people down further. Like
Yeah,
so I wanted it to be a very empowering movie.
that is really cool because yeah, it can definitely seem that way. Like when
Yeah.
people are trying to come at you about certain things like that. So that is really cool.
Oh yeah. I lived through it. My mother battled addiction for a very, very, very long time, and it was all through my 20s, and I didn't really get to live my life very much. I just had to take care of her, and it was a very tiptoe process because it was a very victim mentality, and just so learning from that, I'm trying to be the voice for some people that need those encouraging words and not so like direct and head on with it, in a more playful manner.
Right. Yeah, that's another topic that like people don't realize how hard it is to live around addicts or because that's something that it's another hard subject to speak about, but I mean
Yeah.
it also speaking from experience, it is so hard to like you can't control things and as much as you want
Yeah.
them to just snap out of it. And I'm sure people were thinking the same thing about me. But it's
Yeah, yeah, and that's a real big issue because you don't want is the more you do that to somebody, the more they're going to go down that path because it's
right,
like an almost an embarrassing feeling. It's like why am I still like this? Why am I still doing this? Hurting the people around me, but addiction changes your brain chemistry. It changes everything about you. So you're a completely different person when you are, in those places.
yes, it definitely. And like with your friends and family that you love so much that you see going through it, like it's hard to take a step back and be like, I can't do anything about it because it's their journey
Yep.
and we don't know like what their mindset is like because of these fucking pills or drugs or whatever that is
Oh
changing
yeah.
everything and clouding the judgment like they're clouding their views of the world or they could be
Mhm.
dying inside being like I want to be off of this so much but can't like that's how I was feeling when I was going through it. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
so bad. So it's it's cool that we got on this subject because it you know what, it may help somebody not feel so alone about being around, other addicts. Like if they're
Yeah.
clean and sober or clean from something, you
Hmm.
know?
And I feel like it's not an issue that's talked about a lot in the metal community. It's definitely something that gets up in the rug because it's very much a party type music.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially like with metal and rock. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen a lot go on backstage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean, it's fun and everything. It's fun, but there is a darkness that can go on. I mean, some people have it, can do it responsibly, and more power to them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like I mean, my entire family from up down has all been addicts. Like every time they've touched something, they've been addicted to it, and I'm the only person that I can thankfully say I feel like I just don't have that gene or that thing in me, and that's why I feel so strongly about it, just because I lived through it with my whoever's going through it in my family, and I I don't want everybody to think that like these people are just awful, like
Right.
they are just people that need to be listened to, and they need to be taken care of, and it's tough. It's tough to love an addict. I mean, they can be mean sometimes, they can be real nasty. You need to. There's a bit of understanding that comes a long way, and that's part of growing up. It's part of letting your ego down and being a very very humble person. And it's been a
Yeah.
long journey, but that's kind of why I'm trying to get this across in music.
Yes. Understanding is very, very important. Is
Yeah.
like I said, you never know, the person could be just dying inside, like wishing to be
Oh yeah.
off of it, and those comments that people make sometimes. And speaking from experience, like with going through addiction myself, like it sucks to hear that, because I mean, you are a person, you're a human being, and you're still you just have kind of that, just a different, your perspective isn't as clean as you
Yeah.
would be, but you're still a human being, and kindness goes far. It really does.
100%. 100%.
So yeah, okay. So going back to the music. um, okay, so yeah, here's another song that kind of correlates with the last question, but like going through like the very beginning of I Am's music, like what was the first song that you wrote, and what was the story of how that song came about?
Oh man, that's a long time ago. So yeah, we we wrote an EP. We didn't really release it anywhere. Just kind of like a local band thing. We made a few CDs and that was it. Um, but it was a song called Mobile Control. Probably was the first one. I was really into Molotov Solution at the time. His old deathcore band, and it was it's a real like middle finger to the government type song, and like I don't know, I was probably 19, 18 years old, singing about stuff I had no idea about. So it wasn't anything too great.
Okay. How do you feel like that song captured and catapulted, the distinct song that you have now, the distinct sound, I mean, that you have now?
So I wouldn't even for that. I wouldn't even say that had much to do with it, just because the group of people we were with is they were completely different at the time too.
Okay.
I would say the one that catapulted was our first actual release EP that we did. And that was oh man, that was the Memento Mori EP, yeah. And that was the one where we kind of broke out of that vocal band cycle, and people in other states started like seeing this as like, oh man, and this was in 2015, mind you. And so that was the first thing where I was like, man, like people, like this kid in another state likes my band, like it's crazy, that's awesome. And so we did this little tour. Actually, I say little, but it's our first tour, and we did a 30-day tour, which is crazy. Um, Probably the most amount of people came out to a show was like 50, if that, and most of them were probably like 10 people. And So that was probably the first moment that I was like, man, I could do this forever. This would be awesome. You know, like that was the first time we had someone other than DFW had shown us any love with music, and so I was like, man, this is cool. We can do this for sure. And so yeah, we just built off that and grinded. We did shitty tour after shitty tour after shitty tour. Just kept doing it. You know, kept your nose to the concrete and keep going.
Okay, and I have one more question. So with the
Yeah,
formation of I Am, like how let's talk about the formation of the current lineup that you have now, and how do you feel like
that's the only lineup I'll ever talk about.
that?
I only say that because I feel so strongly about the lineup we have right now. Because I mean I'm the only original member technically of this band,
Okay,
and I've seen every variation of this band, and just the sheer cohesiveness we have now is just night and day. And I make a joke with everybody in my band. I was like, none of you are allowed to quit. Like you are like banned from quitting this band. Like I don't care if you hate us or if you hate everybody. Like you just can't because I don't know. We just all get along so well, and everybody's so awesome. Everybody does their part. Everybody loves their instrument. Like they're all trying to get better. We're all getting better at instruments. Nobody's like slacking at all in that way, and everybody pulls their weight. Nobody's an asshole. You know, everybody's got their own issues and shit to deal with, but for the most part, we all get along, and we're all doing this for the same reason. And it's just I couldn't be more in love with the guys I have right now.
aw, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's a very go ahead.
How did everyone all come together with this lineup?
Okay, yeah. So we actually our first album was Life to Torment, and Tommy came in at that point because our original guitarist, he was having a bit of a hard time writing for the albums, and wasn't doing very well with putting material out, and so I recruited Tommy, and I had been asking him for like it's probably 6 months. I'm like, Tommy, come play for I Am, come play for us, come on. And finally, he was like, all right, we'll do this. And, he wrote pretty much the rest of Life in Torment with us. That's when he came in the band. And then right after we finished writing that album, we did a tour with Chris as a fill-in guitar because we needed a fill-in guitarist for the second guitar. And we did one tour with them, and we immediately knew that, like, okay, we're clicking. Like, this is perfect. You fit in right with us. And so right after that tour, we asked him to join the band, and I haven't looked back since that day, for sure. So that's how we got the two guitarists we have. And then we had kicked out our bassist at this point, and we didn't have anybody for a bit. I'd say it was probably like, I don't know, 6 months or so. And Eric had played guitar for us on a tour in like 2015. And I was like, man, what about Eric? I wonder if he'd play bass for us. And because we got along so well. And, he's such a funny guy. And, like, he's for sure the funnier guy in the band. But, yeah, we asked him to join. And he was like, yeah, let's do this. And never looked back since then. And I will say the biggest move we ever made was having our drummer that we currently have, it's Brandon Busa. We call him the Machine because he's just a fucking robot machine on drumming. I don't even understand it. But basically, we had our old drummer, and we were actually about to go to Europe in 2020, and 2 days before we were supposed to leave for flights, he said he couldn't go. And so we're like, and this was the biggest tour of our lives. And we were like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? What are we going to do? And Chris was like, well, I know this guy in Houston. Let me hit him up. And so on 2 days' notice, we asked him to do a full Europe tour, and then immediately when we land in the U.S., we do a full U.S. tour. So in basically 2.5 months on the road. And he was like, yeah, like, let's go, I'm down. And so I was like, man, right there, like, this guy is down in hell. And we never once practiced with him at a practice space. We showed up to Europe, and the very first time we played with him was on a stage in front of like 1,000 people. And I was so nervous because I didn't know this guy very much, and I didn't know how it was going to be. And he just absolutely crushed it. I had never heard our songs played so well and in that fashion that I was like, this just sounds like a completely different band. Like, and it was just, from that point on, I was like, yeah, this guy is, we're never letting you go. Like, you can't go anywhere, that's for sure. But yeah, ever since then, this lineup, that was in 2020. It's been the same since. So that's it's been such a great ride since then, and it's been awesome.
That's so cool. It's always cool to hear stories like that where you played the first time with them and everything went amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah, because like that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. You know, like
Right.
you get this random guy that you don't know very well and got to play on the biggest tour of your career in front of all these people in a different country, and it's like, oh man. But it turned out in the best way possible. Like that situation, as bad as it was the best situation we could have ever had.
Yeah, the album like sounds amazing. There's a song that I really noticed the drums in it. I'm trying to think is like of course I'm gonna have to look at the track list now. Why am I blinking on it?
No,
Heaven on Earth, like I really like heard like even though the drums were like kind of slower in some parts, like you could really like hear them and I just grooved
yeah,
so
he grooves so well. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the best word I can describe it. He has so much style and so much groove, and that matters so much, especially as a drummer. You know, like that carries the band. That's the beat of the music. You know.
Definitely, especially in metal. I mean, the
Oh
drums,
yeah,
everything
because you
collectively,
can be because you can be a robotic drummer and be awesome, but if you don't have style or groove, it's like, it's all right.
right? Like that's how I just have to put it. It's like say, like Frost from Satyricon in 1349. He's one of the most technical drummers out there, but
Mhm.
he has such a groove about him that it sounds so amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and that matters, and that's something people can connect to, you know, because they can understand that. You know, they can't. A lot of people can't understand just the straight, you know, robotic, like crazy sounding stuff, because it's too much for them to comprehend. But if you can hear the groove, it's like an average person can just be like, okay, I see this.
Right? It's like Vinnie Paul. I
Yes,
like
a
is it
perfect example.
yes. And of course you're from Dallas, so of course I gotta
Yeah,
mention
yeah,
just make a Pantera reference, of course.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's okay. Here's a like a fan question. Being from Dallas, have you seen Vinny and Dime's graves yet?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's actually not too far from our house. It's about 15, maybe 20 minutes from where I personally live. Because it's just in Arlington, which is not too far, and that's being able to go there pretty much whenever we want is kind of sick. You know, like not many people are able to do that. So
Yeah,
that is very very cool and very very special that we get to do something like that.
that is really cool. Yes, rest in peace, Vinny and Dime.
Yes, yes. All the glory to them.
Yes. All right. Well, yeah, those are all of my questions. I can't believe this interview has been like 45 minutes already. Wow.
Let's go. We've had great conversation.
Fuck
That's how you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, thank you for the amazing answers and amazing interview. It's been so much
Oh, of
fun.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anytime, anytime.
Yeah, well, I hope you have an amazing show tonight. I think I saw you're in Alabama, is it?
Yep. Yeah. We're in Alabama today. Sold out show. 900 people. It's gonna be a fun time.
Awesome. I bet the mosh pits are amazing.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Yeah, well, thank you again so much for doing this interview. So I hope to see
Yeah.
you.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I hope to see I am in Fargo sometime
Yes. When
this
we
year.
when we are there, we'll link up. It'll be awesome. Well, but for sure,
Yes.
I'm gonna hit up my booking agent right now. I'm like, hey, you need to come to North Dakota sometime. You go to Fargo.
Yes. I'll tell some of the venues out here too, some of the bookers at the venues. I'm like, you need to book
Already, yeah.
and
We'll make it happen.
yes. All right. Well, yeah, you have a wonderful rest of the evening and have an amazing show tonight.
Much. Thank you much. You as well. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You have a good day. All right.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.